This is We Burlesque.
Hi, this is Joshua Dean.
Hey, it's Paris Stilton.
Hi, this is Taz Al Ghul.
This is Curly Bright.
This is Bo Briefs, the goofball guy of Burlesque, and you're listening to We Burlesque, the podcast, Season 9.
This is We Burlesque, the podcast, and I'm your host, Viktor Devonne, and through the miracle of fiber optics, I get to talk to nightlife individuals, usually in the field of burlesque, and today is no exception. Please welcome to your audio stage, Ivy Faerie.
Hello. It's an honor to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. When did you know that you were a mystical being?
I think I knew it at a very young age that I was a mystical being. I've always felt that there was fey blood running through me. And some people tease me and say, "Oh, you think you're an actual fairy?" And I'm like, "No, I think I'm descendant, though. Like there's fey blood running in my veins." And I've always been drawn to dancing and magic, and I believe in magic everywhere, all around me, all the time. I see it. I see
Is it
magic, and so I feel like I'm connected to it. And yeah, most of my roots are very Celtic, so I just think it's there. I believe it.
it makes sense to me. Have you visited the Emerald
Yes.
Isle?
Yes, my father is his grandparents came to the US from Ireland directly. And so we still even have some distant relatives there. So it was a big thing for our family to travel back to Ireland. And I would go again in a heartbeat, but I also will go almost anywhere in the world in a heartbeat. So it's not hard to get me on a plane.
Well, before we get to the rest of the world, where in Ireland are your roots? May I ask?
So our roots are in Dingle. Is that familiar to you?
Not off the top of my
Yeah.
head. Where is that?
I'm not so great geographically as far as like I'd
Sure.
have to look at a map, but that's the area.
Dingle,
Hmm.
Ireland. Okay. So I went to Ireland as a young person. I was probably 11 or 12, depending on it was the summer before I turned. I may have even been younger. Shit, I may have been 9. Because I think it was 92 and I would have been 10 in 93. So it was during the Troubles, actually. So it was during like a pretty scary time. Not that I knew this,
Sure.
but my parents certainly did when they sent me into essentially a war zone. We went to Belfast, and but I went to Limerick and I kissed the Blarney
Hmm.
Stone. I went to Dublin, did the there were several others, but we saw a lot of churches, we saw a lot of ruins, we saw a lot of architecture that was quite beautiful, but I did not appreciate it because I didn't know what I was doing there, and I just wanted to be home with my MTV and my comfort foods. I have since broadened my horizons, so I look back at that and go, "Oh, yeah, I wish I had paid a little bit more attention to it,"
Sure.
but at the time, it all kind of looked the same to me. I didn't get it. I just didn't get it.
Well, and
Oh well.
we traveled a lot of the island when we were there, and we were actually like we were there for St. Patrick's Day in the capital. So that was like
What is that like? It sounds like Mardi Gras and NOLA.
it is kind
What
of
is
like
that
that. I
like?
mean, the Irish also
Okay.
love to drink. So it's like it was like just a
I've heard.
non-stop
Interesting.
party, like you're like you just woke up. Are these people everybody's already partying?
Yeah.
Leia and Yoda are
Yeah, it's
partying now.
it's
Um
it was
it's
the
the
puppies.
puppies.
Yes.
Yes. And yeah, so I mean it was really fun. It was like, but they love the American bands. Like that was such a big part of the
Mm,
parade. So that was interesting, at least, when I was there. I don't know, things could have very much
sure.
changed since then.
Well, roughly
That
when
was
was that?
roughly, I would say, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I have a feeling it's fairly similar. I don't know really because we're such America is such a self-involved country in so many ways. We don't do a lot of international news unless it's a
Right.
crisis. And a lot of our awareness of other cultures is heavily Americanized and anglicized and whitewashed. So you kind of have to try harder if you want to figure it out. But I appreciated that that there was this episode of Music That Made We that I did with Rex Halligan, who was a performer in New York, and he walked me through some of the history of Ireland back when it was an entirely but pre-country essentially, and then through just about the 1890s. So if you or anybody's interested, it's on the network. I encourage to check out if you're curious about any of the Irish history through song
Oh, I
as
love that.
well. So yeah, it is a beautiful culture, but there's so many cultures within it as well.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
yeah. So your interest in the Fae and presumably mythology and folklore and things of that nature, was that something that you also participated in as a young person as well, or did you find that as an adult?
I think I always just innately felt it just kind of like dancing. My mom said that, I danced in the womb, like that, and there weren't dancers necessarily in my family. That wasn't, it wasn't
Hmm.
something that I came out seeing and being represented as much as I just felt it and always wanted to do it. And yeah, folklore and fairies and mythical creatures have always just held a big interest for me. I see something that I'm like, oh, I believe, oh, the dragons, oh, the unicorns, oh, like everything is just like,
How about the
oh, yes, for
leprechauns?
sure. The leprechauns,
Yeah,
yeah,
so naturally.
naturally.
Where does your line take you to Colorado, where you currently
Where I
reside?
currently reside. So I was born in the Midwest. I was actually born in Ohio, and we traveled. We Let me back up. We moved a lot when I was younger based on my parents' jobs. And
Okay,
so Colorado came into play when I was pretty young. And then we moved again, and then we moved again, and then we moved again. And then the last time we moved to Colorado, my parents said, because I was going into junior high at that point in time, and I was very much in that age where I was like, I'm done with this moving because it's hard to have friends. It's hard to you know, get involved in anything in the school because you're uprooting. So I expressed that, and my parents said, well, we won't move again until you're out of high school once we make this move.
very nice.
So we came to Colorado. We ended up in a really small town called Carbondale, Colorado. It's in
Mhm.
between Aspen and Glenwood Springs, and most people kind of know where those are in Colorado, but it's definitely up at
Sure. Big resort, big visiting
correct. Yeah.
towns.
So Carbondale's a little
Yeah.
tiny town, or was when I was there, up in the mountains. And that's where I, really laid down roots and was able to feel like I belonged someplace. And then when it came to college, and mind you, I went to college for dance. That's always been just a big through line all the way into burlesque. It's just, it's where my heart lies. It's my passion. I don't
Mm.
feel whole if I'm not dancing and I'm not performing. Um, Depression will set in if I'm not. So I know that about myself, and I just have to really um, honor that and seek that out. And so
Mm.
I wanted to major in dance because I definitely grew up in, a time frame when it was like you just went to college, like that's what you do. I didn't feel like there was really these options, like go to college. Well, if I have to go to college, I'll major in dance. And
Yeah.
I looked at some out of state schools and was very interested in going there, but finances didn't allow for that. And so I went and was blessed to receive scholarships to go to Colorado State University in Fort Collins. And that's where I majored in dance, and I finished my degree there. And I just kind
Okay.
of laid down roots at that point in northern Colorado, and I've called it home ever since. So I'd love to
Yeah.
claim that I'm a Colorado native, but I'm actually not.
Well, but
I
you stayed.
stayed.
How about- I've never really had personally, I've never really had a great deal of national pride, state pride, or city pride. I've it's sort of just always been happenstance and circumstance to me. So I've never been like one of those people who's like, no, because this is where I come from. I mean, don't get me wrong. I will say, no, I'm a fucking citizen, so don't discount me when I say this person is bullshit or when I say let's make things better here. Because the whole concept of saying, well, if you don't like it, move out,
Right.
or if you don't like that, leave. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, you're not financing my leaving. So let's get that together. And it's sort of, and also it's such a dismissive thought. And you well, you didn't leave when you were mad 4 years ago. So what's going on? What are we doing?
Exactly.
So it's sort of interesting, but I come from like being an American, as I said, we're very self-involved, so there's a lot of American pride sort of instilled. And then I was born in Connecticut, which there's New England pride, sure. There's there's the whole frankly colonial spirit of the Patriot, and but then there's also I moved to Jersey, and there is strong Jersey pride. Like there is a very significant Jersey pride, which I don't even know if I really fully recognized until after Hurricane Sandy, when there was like this big Jersey strong, almost campaign to sort of like so that we are resilient. Because it was sort of, I mean, it was by no means as well, I don't want to say it was less devastating than something like Katrina or something like that, but it was the closest thing that we had to that on our side of things in a long while. And disaster brings out resilience, as naturally it sometimes can. And so, but then moving to Southern California, it was like like it made no difference to me. Like this is just where I live. And I miss the people and I miss the activities and the venues and the places, sure, but it's sort of like even that's a little bit different now because I moved before 2021. So things are different
Yeah.
now on that side of things by virtue. And of course, working in New York is a strong pride to it as well.
Yes, for sure.
Uh,
I feel like what I'm proud of about Colorado is that, Colorado is strong in staying a blue state, and that
mm,
gives me a sense of comfort. So, but I just claim my Fey blood more than I claim anything else.
fair, absolutely fair. Um, so you mentioned that you started dancing very young, as many dancers do. Were you like a 3-year-old that they threw into ballet and that kind
Yeah,
of thing?
so when I was 3, I was already begging to dance. And so my mom put me in, like ballet tap combo. And I was just one of those kids, though, that never stopped. I just, like, once I started dancing, I couldn't get enough of it. And it was something
Mm,
that I just felt very connected to. I wanted to continue. And I was, pretty serious about it once I got into junior high, high school age. And I was in a contemporary modern dance company when I was in high school in
mm,
the Glenwood Springs, Aspen Valley. And we did some traveling. So I kind of got a little bit of Um, that feeling too, like I want to travel and do this, and I want to just be on as
mm.
many stages as I can be on. So, that's why it felt natural to me to want to explore it more when I got into college and to continue. And since then, my life has taken me in a lot of different various twists and turns, and I feel like I owe a lot to dance because of
Mhm.
that. So, starting in ballet and then kind of moving a little bit more into the contemporary realm of modern dance. And then I ended up falling in love with musical theater, which wasn't something that I had necessarily ever envisioned myself doing because I never considered myself to be a strong singer. I wasn't
Mhm.
trained in it. And so that felt very frightening to me. And then but I found this great love of musical theater because there are certain shows that they really need strong dancers for, and that's kind of how I started veering into it, doing Cats and doing, a chorus line, and I was
Mhm.
Christine in a chorus line because see, I really couldn't sing. But it was like the perfect role for me. I loved doing it, and actually musical theater is what led me to burlesque. So it,
Sure.
like I said, it's like this journey's been very intertwined with dance, but starting from ballet and now, um, my primary focus as far as my performance is burlesque. I still
Mhm.
do other things. I just this last year I choreographed for Loveland Opera Theater, and yeah, but they were doing Iolanthe. I don't know if you're at all familiar with that, but it's yeah, most people
Not that one,
aren't.
no.
But when they contacted me, I was like, well, this is the universe speaking because they said, are you interested in choreographing this? And I said, I don't know what that is. I don't know that opera or operetta. And the women are all fairies in the opera. And
All
when they
comes
told me
back,
that, I
doesn't
said,
it?
"Oh, I
Yeah.
guess I'm in." And so like I still and I direct a competitive dance team with younger
Hmm.
students, and I still teach ballet, jazz, lyrical, and musical theater.
So this you have like the Fairy Queen and you have I guess the sort of military influence as well, like the of the characters.
Yeah, it's like the little quote they had on the on the poster was like when the British Parliament meets
You're
fairies.
telling me.
Like it's this, yeah, I know it. And it was interesting too, because I felt like there was this fun
Totally.
political underbeat in it, and it just like so it was joyous to be choreographing for the fairies because I feel like, again, so connected to that whole concept. And, there were funny lines in it like, well, that's what comes of fairies messing in Parliament, because the worlds get intertwined. And of course, there's a love story. And then,
Hmm.
that's how things work. But also, they had this fun concept where they wanted to have the overture choreographed. And so the overture was like a glimpse into what you were going to see for the show, but they wanted it to start out with a fairy coming in and dancing more balletic. So they actually had me do that role. And that was, again, it was really fun because I felt like, wow, I'm just combining so much of my worlds, with the ballet and the fairies. And then I was able to pull costuming from my burlesque world to use as the as the fairy at the beginning. And that was those kind of things are rewarding. It just keeps me thinking I'm on the right path in
They keep
life.
showing up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, keep showing up.
So you mentioned choreography and being a choreographer, that's obviously a very specific discipline. So not every dancer can therefore choreograph. Not every choreographer can also dance in the same way as well, but has a mentality of it if we know from like the reality show and of choreographer personalities who don't necessarily participate. But they have to have, an awareness of what people can do and push them and instruct while also being, I guess, kind of tough, I would think. Are you a tyrant with a ruler?
No, I'm not. I am. I am a Pisces, and I'm like a true Pisces where it's like I'm very sensitive, I'm very malleable, I'm like I feel other people's energy, and I always want to protect and nurture, and it takes a lot to push me to the point where I'm like, no, you're doing it wrong. Because I just feel too, and that it depends on who you're working with. And, a lot of times I've choreographed for professionals and I get paid to choreograph for competitive teams. That's very different. They're used to people being strict, and they're used to like corrections and absorbing corrections. But I've also worked with a lot of community theater and people that don't have a lot of dance training. And what I find is that they work harder. Most people in general work harder and give you more when you give them kindness and you give them positive feedback to improve upon, because I often equate that to, like I said earlier, where when I ventured into musical theater, I was very scared about singing. And so the pressure of someone being like, that's the wrong note, why can't you get it, it was more damaging to me psychologically than when someone was like, okay, so this was good. You need to believe in yourself. You need to breathe differently. You need to, then that positive reinforcement works for me. And I know that some people don't respond the same way, but I feel like that's innately who I am as a teacher and as a choreographer.
Well, it's sort of viewed, dance is so viewed as sort of cutthroat from off the bat. I mean, you mentioned chorus line, but also something like as modern as Center Stage or Black Swan. Like there's sort of this innate drama backstage that happens. There's always this diva who is trying to usurp. Someone's about to throw the beads on the floor for the showgirl, and I know that's also, amped up for entertainment purposes,
Sure.
and that also can apply to almost any industry. I mean, really, what's the difference between a cutthroat office drama and a cutthroat community theater drama? I mean, really, it's the same archetypes that you're going to find. Which is why I find burlesque, it's very much it's the same thing that I dealt with Rocky Horror. It's the same thing I dealt with in high school. It's the same thing I know a lot of people dealt with when they did Renaissance Fair, or if they were in band, or if they were in dance. So you sort of have these malleable minds of ego and neurodivergence and innate talent and imposter syndrome. All of these things coming together to make a wonderful stew.
Yes, yes, you absolutely do. And I feel like I understand that stew. I live in that stew, and so I just always come from the approach of I want to be that positive light, though, and I want to be the person that if someone works with me, that they feel more empowered, that they can dance or they can shine or they can use their talents in in a way that maybe they didn't think they could before, instead of, because I hear it from people all the time. Oh, well, I don't know how to dance, or I don't know how to do this, or I don't know. You don't
Just
have to
do
know
it. Yeah.
how,
I don't know how to sing,
right?
but I will
Yeah,
sing.
but I'll figure it out. Like if I want to do it, I'm going to figure it out,
Oh, I don't even know if I'll figure it out. I'll
I'll
just
just
do
do
it.
it.
Hey, this is Victor, and I would really like to thank the folks on the Patreon. It really does make a difference. I know this is one of those times in the world where we're like, who the hell has the $20? Who has the $5? Who has $1? Well, if you do, thanks. If you can throw it at me. I understand that we have a lot of other concerns out there, what with social justice and also groceries. So if you happen to have it and you want to throw some dollar bills at the entertainment art that We Burlesque and Viktor Devonne puts out there, it helps me a great deal because there are some very real bills that come with podcasting. It's a lot of fun. It's all I know how to do, except dance around on stage and put on shows. But it does cost money. Ugh. But there are some folks who throw me some dollars on Patreon, and I would like to give them a lot of love. And those names today are Goosey Gander, Roxy Reverie, Faye Havoc, Tiffany Lane, Madam E, I Read, Shimmy LaRue, Curly Bright, Oliver Swisky, Sebastian Crane, Alex Colad, Bo Britches, Luna Delight, and Stormageddon. Y'all mean the world to me. Thank you very, so very, 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 very much. If you would like to support the pod by doing so, you can go to patreon.com/weburlesque. If you don't have the dollars, I understand. You can also go like, follow, subscribe on all the things, even if you don't listen, but also listen. Please do that too. And comment. Not only do I see those comments and feel really good about myself, but the people that are parts of these shows get to see those comments and know that what they're doing resonates in the world. So, thank you very much. Be well. At a certain point, because it's also, I mean, let's get into some of the actual burlesque element, because that really is where we are frequently our own creative director, our own choreographer, our own costume maker on occasion, if not the designer or the person who has the vision so that somebody else can then do it.
Yes.
Or if we take on an existing costume, we then revitalize it in some capacity to understand how we want it to be. So that's no different than a lot of wardrobe folks who pull from existing materials. And then we also are our own agent, really, as well, and we should be our own biggest advocate, but very frequently we fall short of that. But it's ours, and we get to do it, and it's a little, I would think it's a little bit more freedom than, say, this professionally crafted theater project, which has very specific notes that you have to hit, both literal and figurative, and somebody else's vision that you're participating in as well. It's somebody else's production that's usually directing it or in hand.
Yes.
For a very specific audience. So what about the freedom that comes with constructing your own burlesque when not dealing with all of those other, pinnings? Do you thrive off of, or even maybe struggle with?
Yeah, I think there's both in there. I
Mm.
thrive off of the creativity to be able to just express me. And I don't know that I understood that so much when I first ventured into burlesque, but as I've grown in it, I've really realized that the pieces that I enjoy putting together the most are the ones that have a clear message for me in my heart, or that are a specific I have a specific message or a specific goal, or even, if it's just, I'm really going to challenge myself to do a very classic number this time. I enjoy that I can make the decision creatively of what is this act going to be for me, and knowing that then when I get out there and I'm presenting it, that the audience may or may not get the same thing I intended, but if they get anything at all, I feel like I accomplished a goal, because there's still that connection. So, and I had to learn, it was a growing experience for me with the costuming, because although I've done a lot of dance costuming in the past, it was more, burlesque has so much more to it, I feel like, because you have to make sure that, the costuming reveals are working the way that you
Sure.
want them to, that
And are attractive reveals
right
as well.
and the
Yeah.
embellishments and all of, the things,
It's not that quick change
right.
situation.
Right. There's
Yeah.
just this different element to it. And I was having these ideas in my head where I was like, oh, I really want this to happen. And then having to acknowledge that I don't know how to do that, though, was a little bit hard, because I had this concept in my whole body and my mind, that I have to do everything myself. And realizing that magical moment of realizing, no, you don't. You can ask for help. You can reach out to people, and you can use multiple minds to create something, was this like wonderful eye-opening experience for me. And it was funny you mentioned Black Swan. I did a Black Swan act, and that was the first one where I was like, I have this idea I really want something that looks like a corset, like a traditional ballet corset, but that when I undo it, it opens up into wings. And I was like, I have no idea how to construct that or make that a reality. And so I reached out to a close friend of mine who does a lot of actually theater costuming, but she's very creative, innovative person. I reached out to her and I said, look, I'm working on this act. I have this concept. I don't know how to make it a reality. And she said, let's sit down and talk. We sat down and talked. She sketched it. She ended up designing it for me. And it works beautifully. And then from there, I've worked with her on several different other act creations as well. When I have a concept that I'm like, this is a creative concept, and but how is it going to function? And she's really great at making that functionality work. So I feel like it adds a whole nother level to what I am able to decide to create because I'm not as feeling stuck now. Like, yeah, but I don't know how to make that happen. And I love it because I feel like if you have a creative vision and you have a team of people that you can reach out to and help you make that come to life, it's just this amazing process. And it's so invigorating.
How long have you been performing burlesque?
I've been performing burlesque since 2009.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So you come from the before times as well. So
Yes.
you've seen the ebbs and flows. So I started in '06, but really barely in '06. September of '06, one show. And then again hit the ground running in '07 and then kept on, never nonstop ever since. With some stops. But the the time that 2009 you were starting, we had already experienced sort of this what was it called, like this gothic punk post Dresden Dolls steampunk drenched little hat, sorry, I'm not finished, these sort of tropes to play with. So White Elephant, we started in the Hot Topic sort of vein. So we had a lot of stripy stockings. We had a lot of those faux corsets that really didn't cinch, but they looked like bustiers. A lot of those gauntlets and things like that. We didn't quite lean into the leg avenue like a lot of folks did, but we learned. When you were starting out, what appealed to you to construct? What were some of your acts looking like?
So when I first started, it was kind of a specific assignment, and the very first act that I ever created, I'm sure you'll be shocked, um, was an absent fairy act. So, and I was lucky to work with Vivian Vavoom in Denver. So she kind of guided a few of us that were very new into doing the burlesque side of performing. And we were able to, get feedback from her. And so that was kind of, and this again, like being honest, like going into it, I didn't know that much about burlesque. I understood what it was and what I was getting into, but I didn't really have the wealth of knowledge to know, um, what I was looking into or what I wanted to do with it. And that was so, that was the first act that I created. And then from there, it just kind of was like, wow, there's such a deep, rich history here. There's so many different facets. There's like, but I didn't feel necessarily fully immersed in that when, early on. And then I started, wanting to see more what was out there and see what other people were doing and be inspired by that.
I think that when we are first developing that we both have too many ideas and then not enough ideas to sort of figure it out. So I think Absinthe Fairy makes the most sense in a very similar way that we choose archetypes. Burlesque a lot is built on archetypes in a very similar way that drag and conventional theater are based on these tropes and these archetypes that we see. Um, so as you're developing, do you remember what song the first act was to?
So, and that was another thing that Vivian helped. It was all instrumental, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head.
But was it more classical leaning or was it like a
Yes,
contemporary? Okay.
yes. And I did it on point. I did the act on point. So it
Goodness.
was definitely, yeah. So again, it was like a melding of my worlds,
Yeah.
again. So ballet and the burlesque and the point shoes and,
Well, then I feel like
and the wings.
we missed a step then. So who was the first person to say you burlesque right now?
You burlesque right now. So it was actually, like I said, it was musical theater,
Yeah.
and I was doing a production of Swing. I was one of the dancers, and Corvette was one of the singers. So that was the connection.
Gotcha. I know Cora. Cora's is a delight. It's always good to have someone who is a champion in the corner to sort of say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And as you pointed out earlier, like getting that positive reaffirmation and positive feedback and say, work on this, this is what we can do, I think is very important, particularly since burlesque is usually such a solitary practice. While we do have houses and we do have troops and we do have folks that work in group, uh, a lot of times we're on our own coming up with stuff, or we all, as Cher said, we all sleep alone. So sooner or
Yes.
later,
Yes.
and sooner or later we all strip alone.
Yes.
So to have that vulnerability, you obviously had a fine understanding of what your body was capable of, if not everything, by that point. Because you were this is 2009. Not to call you out, but you were in your 30s at that point.
Yes. Yeah. I just turned 52. So yeah, thank
Clap,
you.
clap, 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 clap. We celebrate longevity in this house.
Yes, yes, we do. And I feel very blessed that my body still does what it does, and that, that I am continuing to do the things that I love.
Yeah.
And yeah, and, so one of the things, maybe answering a little bit more what you were asking earlier and was processing, one of the things that has super inspired me as I have continued my journey in burlesque is working with some of the legends.
Mm,
Lovey Goldmaine is
mm,
my heart.
yeah.
She's my mentor that I still connect with all the time. And she has so inspired me. The first time that I saw her on stage, I that was the moment that I realized that I really wanted to dive deeper into burlesque. Was the first time I watched Lovey perform. And I was in complete, like, I'm getting teary thinking about it. I was just in complete awe of her, of her presence on the stage, of the love that the audience was giving to her, and that there is still this place for people who are not in their 30s, like you
Hmm.
said, because, or their 20s. And, especially coming from a ballet background, most ballet dancers age out.
Right.
It's just a fact of life.
Hmm.
And because there's strain on your body, and there's always someone younger, and that.
Throw in those beads. I said, yeah.
Right. It's just a fact. And
Yeah.
so when I saw Lovey perform, I was so inspired to make a path in burlesque, and to be able to, like, go, I can honor my body at any stage it's in and any age it's at, and I can keep going. And so she's like definitely the number one inspiration for me. And so when I had the opportunity to have her as a mentor, I can't tell you how much it meant to me, to have her as my mentor. And now as a close friend
Mm.
and someone that I connect with, all the time, and that I've shared this stage with, and been able to, contribute some choreography to group acts with her. Um, it's like a crowning moment in my life
Isn't it
that,
so cool that we have friends that are also people that we not idolize, but just say, "Damn, you
yeah,
are so good."
you're so good. And she is so good, but she's also so good as a human. She's
Yeah.
just like an inspiration to me on all levels. And um yeah, so that was a very defining burlesque moment for me, was watching her, and I walked away going, I want to do this. Like
And you
like
can. That's the thing too, is it informs permission on your side of things as well.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was it
So,
like to perform as a love on the Beehive stage?
oh, it was huge. I mean, like all the things like you said going through your head where you're like, I'm here. Wait, am I allowed to be here? I'm here. I'm here. But then like getting out there and feeling like I'm here. I want to be here. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to leave my heart on this stage, and I'm here with people that I adore,
Yeah.
that I've worked with, that I respect, that I admire, and hearing the crowd and being backstage was just like, yeah, it's everything.
So the act was Cell Block Tango from
Yes.
Chicago because Lovey loves herself some Candor and Ebb.
Mhm.
Um, you were as
Yes.
naturally you would be because that is the ballet role, right?
Yeah, well,
Um,
and I feel like there's other girls in Lovey's Loves that could have easily fallen into that role as well, that have a lot of ballet background and
sure.
training. But yeah, I think Lovey felt like I was the natural choice for that.
I
So
think you know what it is that and it's an acting thing as well, is you have it's a specific vulnerability on the stage. So when I watched it, I bought it. I bought what you were selling because you provided a vulnerability for that character that is required because she's the innocent, isn't she?
yes,
And
yes,
it really is, and we sort of glaze over it because Chicago's so bombastic and so fun. But what it really is in that moment is, oh no, there are people who are wrongly convicted and wrongly incarcerated. And this person who's been railroaded, probably because they don't speak English, that's some real shit right there. And that is such a like a huge moment for a 6 minute epic fun as fuck song. But it's the part in that act that really actually gets really sad.
yeah,
And I'm all for it because I love that. I love that, all that stuff right there. If I can pick apart and say, look at this nuance, let me just play with it. I think it's awesome. So I appreciate it. I appreciated that.
well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment as well. Yeah, because it is. She is the
Yeah.
tragic character. So, um, but yeah, there's a beauty in that because it's again the human
Yeah.
connection. So, you have these powerful women up there, and you have these, yeah, like you said, there's the one
Yeah.
innocent, and that I feel like it's a hard one because it still needs to play to work into the
Yeah.
whole group, but also to have that moment of, yeah, of wow, this person is wrongly
Right.
convicted.
Well, that's the thing is depending on your view of, I mean, as far as abolition, when we talk about like what prison does, the women that are convicted, I think we're meant to have levels of sympathy. Some of them are like, I mean, that's sort of again the fun of it is the villain or the anti-hero. It's sort of like, yeah, good for her, like that kind of thing.
Yes.
And for
Exactly.
that part specifically to come in right before, I mean, Kendra and I are fucking geniuses, but for that part to come in right before specifically Velma's as one of the protagonists, character. She gets that underscoring of right after, the dramatic, like, no, I didn't do it. So I
Yeah.
think that's really neat. Have you been able to do that elsewhere in addition, or was it strictly for that performance?
No, we originally did that for
Oh, nice.
VHOF, but the for when so
Hmm.
during pandemic for VHOF Live, the one that happened downtown in Vegas, and I'm pretty sure I'm trying I'm like, was that the very first time we performed it? I feel like it was. We did it for Burley
Okay.
Cares. Um, and we performed it at the GLCC that happened
Okay.
in Vegas. So, but obviously, performing it on the Beehoff stage is the biggest
Yeah.
one. And
Yeah.
yeah,
How many rehearsals?
how many rehearsals? So, um, and it was a little different, as far as rehearsals were concerned, because I was the only one not in
Sure.
Vegas. I was in Colorado, and so we really didn't have that many rehearsals
In person.
when we constructed it. I think we had maybe had 3 or 4. I did fly in for one prior just to make sure that I was doing it live with the other girls before doing it live for
Hmm.
an audience. Yeah, and then leading up to Beehoff, when we knew we were going to do it there, um, I think we did another 4 rehearsals, but we'd performed it, 3+ times prior to that. So, but it was a little spread out, like,
Sure. Sure.
when we
And
performed it as far
doing
as
it during
years.
the marathon that is Behalf must have also had its own challenges. I know that they were dealing with at the time also the Jersey Boys set. Although I have to say it looked really cool having all those stairs and the catwalks. I have to say I know that everyone hated it backstage, and my heart goes out to Dustin who really struggled with having to deal with that. But everything looked really cool with that backdrop. I just have to say.
I thought it looked, yeah, I thought it looked great, and honestly, I mean, well, and for Cell Block, it
Perfectly.
worked
Yeah. It
wonderfully.
looked like
Like,
it
it was a
looked like
great
it was set up
background.
for y'all. I know. I know.
I know. I was like, I mean, that couldn't have been bad for us. I could understand how for, some of the acts that might not have
Yeah.
been ultimate, but I feel like performers are in general, I feel like pretty good at coming together and working
Sure.
with what's there. You know, like everybody knows that it's hard to walk into a situation and have everything be perfect.
Right. Sometimes
That's
things are smaller, sometimes things are wider,
yeah,
sometimes the stage isn't set up the way that it usually is. Sometimes there's a runway all of a sudden. Like I've had acts where I'm a very stationary performer for that act, and they're like, and you can use that runway. I'm like, well, I won't. Just so you know, like it just doesn't
yeah.
make sense for this act. I stand in front of a laptop for this act. Sorry. Like but cool, cool. Good to know. But I mean that also lends itself because that means that everybody's using the same space as well. And I also love that as someone who loves like Brechtian architecture when it comes to theater. And I love a staircase. I love an exposed catwalk. Give me some exposed piping. Yes, all about it. And so if people are using different areas of things like that, then I think that, that sort of makes the space more dynamic as well. So I like it. I personally like it. But I know not everyone
I feel like it's just, going to different spaces and different stages. It's just another
yeah,
added challenge, and it's an opportunity to see what you
right.
can do and not be afraid of it.
Hey, this is Viktor Devonne, and I like socks. I've always liked socks. In fact, I like socks so much that I don't match them because life is too short. Not because life is too short to find the other one that matches it, but because I want people to see how many socks I have. And I don't always take off my shoes. But when I take off my shoes, I want you to see at least 2 examples of the quality that I am drawn to. And that is why I shop at Foot Clothes. You can get 10% off your first order at footclothes.com and enjoy the luxury, style, and utter ridiculousness that is Foot Clothes. I encourage you to do so, and I want you to do it right now. And I want you to feel comfortable not having those socks match. Get into it. Feel right about it. Take pictures. Make some money off of it. I don't need to see it. You can send those the way that you need to. But you have fun out there. That's footclothes.com. Promo code Viktor Devonne, lowercase, all together. Well, let's talk about one of your most recent places to travel to and stages to work on. You just came back from Rome.
I did. I just came back from Rome.
What was that like?
It was such a wonderful experience. It was honestly, again, back to my magic thing. I felt like there was magic around it. Going into older cities and being immersed in other cultures always gives me new life. And Rome, I was there for the Maximum Burlesque Festival, which is this was only their second edition of it. And it is a biannual, so every 2 years they're doing the festival. And the theater is, I am not joking, like 2 blocks to the Colosseum. So you walk out the theater door and you just look and the Colosseum is right there. So you're really down in the heart of Rome, in ancient Rome. And it is this adorable old theater. I don't know for a fact, but I heard from one of the other performers that it actually was a church at one point. So that's kind of cool. But now it's used as a theater, and they definitely do burlesque and drag there. And the stage space was smaller than I've necessarily done the act that I was taking, which is the act that I formed with Lovey. And I call it my flower goddess act, but I have a very large skirt that ends up turning into my cape at the end. But it's like, it's my costumer and I refer to it as the lily pad. It's like, but it's really big. And so when I looked at the stage space, I was like, she gonna fit on there? but she did. And so, and when I open it up and I move with all the fabric, if I have a larger stage, I can really travel side to side. And there wasn't that opportunity, but then there was the opportunity to use the depth instead of the width. And so it was fun. But that's all, again, I think that's a psychological game. Like, you have to play. I had to go, okay, that's a fun opportunity, instead of, oh, panic, I got to change how I normally have rehearsed this, because coming from a very strong, like, technical, disciplined dance form, I'm used to rehearsing, and that wanting things to be exactly the way I rehearsed them.
You gotta roll with it.
And that's what I've really learned with burlesque too, is that that's not going to always work, and you just got to roll with it and make things happen. And I feel like that has strengthened me as a performer, which is great. So I like, but being in Rome was, again, magical, and I love meeting so many different people from around the world. That's another part of why I love to submit, and I feel honored when I get accepted into international festivals, is that then I am meeting people that I might not otherwise have the opportunity to meet, meeting people from Finland and Croatia and Switzerland and France, and all of us going out and having dinner together or being backstage together and sharing those moments, and just meeting other mystical, magical beings from around the world is it's such a huge honor.
The Maximum Burlesque Festival, who was the headline?
Lady Dada. And she was lovely, and I really enjoyed watching her act, and I felt very honored because she did come and talk to me about my piece, and that she had some very kind words to say about it, so that felt very special. I did win Best Costume.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your lily pad.
Yeah. The flower goddess, we call her the flower goddess, but yes, it's a it's a again, once I started working with my costumer, her name's Rebecca Spafford, by the way. Once I started working with her and feeling like I had more opportunity to explore the depths of the creativity in my mind, to go, okay, she can help you make some of these visions come to life. And so in that piece, I have petals there that are attached to my body, and when I take them off, they're obviously reveals, but when I take them off, they reattach, and then when they all come off, along with my headpiece, when they all come off, then they form a new flower at the end. So to me, it has a lot to do with like the life cycle and the beauty in nature. So it's a piece that really came from my heart, and
Yeah.
it's the one obviously I worked with Lovey on, so it has a lot of depth of meaning to me.
You were one of very few US participants. It is a truly international festival. What did you find working with folks, and how they are backstage? I don't know if there may have been even a language barrier with some of them, or just a different mentality since it's a different region backstage. What was it like just being immersed in that, in a truly United Nations of a backstage?
Yes. So yeah, it was wonderful. There were there's myself and one other from the
I
US, I
think
believe.
Venno, right? Venicalo?
Vena,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Venetala was the other one from the US. Backstage was lovely. I find that it is so fascinating because most people do speak or understand English. And at a lot of the international festivals, it is, I, I feel like it's a great kindness that, everyone adjusts and uses English so that we can all kind of be together and understand each other.
Mhm.
And it was just very loving backstage, even though, not all festivals are competitions. Some are and some aren't.
Mhm.
And, some I've been in internationally were not, and some are, and this one was, but there was not, in my opinion, there was not a sense of competitiveness backstage. Everyone was so supportive. People were helping each other with, oh, can I help you with that? When, someone was struggling to get something on, or, you know, and it was a smaller, backstage area, but everybody made room for each other. And, we're just, it was so filled with love and support, and the one of the producers, Celeste, she's from Croatia. She sent us a voice message the day after the festival was done, which I felt like actually really kind of embodied what I felt backstage, where she said how much it really meant to her and it warmed her heart that when they were announcing the awards, that no matter who was called, everyone was cheering so loudly for each other and so supportive and so excited for whoever was called. And it was genuine. Like, we had become friends at that point. And I think it is because you have people coming from everywhere, and yeah, some people know each other a little bit, or some people might have a travel buddy with them, but in general, we're all just there as
Mhm.
artists doing something that we love. And so there couldn't have been a better environment for feeling nurtured and supported, and like we are here to honor this art form
Mhm.
and to put on a good show.
Entertain, let people
Yeah.
know, let them see it. What was the audience like?
The audience was great. I mean, as a lot of times it is, there's a lot of the other performers out there because there were two nights.
Sure.
So on the night you weren't performing, you're in the audience. Um, I guess there were more people there that were like reviewing and writing articles than I knew, because she's been like spitting out articles every day since. And but the audience was super responsive to everything and everyone, and it was very diverse as far as what was put on the stage.
Mm.
I mean, obviously, like you said, we had people coming from all over the world, but you had everything from one of my new little friends, she went after me, and she was an elf, so the fairy and the elf were right next to each other, which was
Nice.
great. And
It's nice to see
so
unity between the casts. Yeah.
yeah. And but there were some acts that were more horror based, like a Freddy Krueger act,
Okay.
and
Well, you
like
got the giallo influence. The horror in Italian is huge, so I
yeah.
get it.
And there were some very like heart-wrenching storytelling pieces, and then there were some amazing drag artists, and there was a huge variety across the board in both nights, and so it was widely entertaining.
Where else have you traveled internationally as well? In other places to perform?
Yes, yes. So I have been blessed to participate in the
Oh,
Australian Burlesque Festival, in the Glasgow Burlesque Festival in Scotland, and I did the That's Amore Burlesque Festival in Rome as well. So
it's nice to be
so I,
back.
I love
It's always
Rome.
nice to return.
I was like, yeah, take me back.
What was it like traveling internationally? I mean, I know obviously this is a particularly terrifying time for our indigenous and immigrant uh, colleagues, as well as our trans companions. What was it like? I mean, I know with dealing with a great deal of privilege on your part, and I would also experience. Um, but were you able to see any tension in
I
that?
didn't. Luckily, I will say that that
Good.
was something that this time, unlike the other times when I've gone to international festivals. Oh, that's what I know. Okay, Oslo Burlesque Festival in Norway was
Oh, yes.
is another one and that's the one I actually did last year. And it was like this one was as far as I know.
I think I hear the
Okay, we'll put
Pomeranian.
her
Is
down.
that
She's
the... No,
she's
she's
like
fine. She's fine. The audience understands. They get what they get.
the
They get what they
Pomeranian's
get.
like, yeah. So yes. So the Oslo Burlesque Festival was a lot like the Maximum, as far as the backstage and the environment there was so magical and so supportive and just so loving. So Oslo was the one that I had done more recently, and before Rome, and I didn't feel much difference as far as within the community of artists traveling. I felt very different when I was going to travel this time. I even expressed some of that
Mm,
trepidation, and because not, I was nervous to admit to being an American, that the worldview of us would be so negative. Um, and
sure.
that was actually a lovely moment backstage, because when the artists were talking, and saying, oh, well, where are you from, where are you from, where are you from, they get to me, and I was like, I'm from Colorado. Like, and then I was like,
Americana.
oh, the US. And I said yes, but I'm feeling nervous about saying that. And they were very lovely and loving in expressing that, that their worldview is that their heart hurts for us.
Mm.
And that, the general concept of that an artist is probably not going to be supporting those type of things that are so negative. And
Well, it's very clear that we're very divided
right.
right now. It's very, very
Yeah.
clear that we're very
Yes.
divided.
So they were very loving and, and then said that they felt sad that, we would feel that way, that we would feel like, embarrassed to be like, this is where I'm from,
Right.
and so I feel like there's this depth of support within the burlesque and drag communities for each other, and
We
we
hope.
hope. I was that's what I was sensing, that
Yeah.
we.
Colorado is not without its
Oh,
splintered factions, but
absolutely,
yes.
absolutely, absolutely. But like that, hopefully, this political environment will help us all band together and rise to support each other even more and to stand together. So that's my plan, anyways.
I mean, we're all in it one way or another. What is it? Benjamin Franklin said, "If we don't hang together, we will certainly hang separately."
Correct.
So it's all sort of, and I'm not necessarily a huge Ben Franklin fan, but he does say it in 1776, and I do enjoy that. So yeah, it's what it's more than the Emperor's New Clothes. It's just because it's not just that watching other people pretending that the emperor has no clothes. It's celebrating cruelty, and that's really where it really hurts me is
Mhm.
that we're back to being really, really mean. And I know that for some folks it's never stopped per se, but there was sort of a respectability veil. There was pretense, and I'm not saying that it's better when people lie to you, but it's kind of easier to go through life if they lie to you, if they don't wear it on their sleeve. But people are bold. People are getting bolder and bolder and saying awful, awful things because there aren't consequences. There
Right.
just aren't. There just aren't. And they're seeing that at the highest of levels. And we're not, I mean, as entertainers, we have the opportunity to both reflect on that and sort of give uh, relief on that as well. We don't have to necessarily be, but as long as we're, marginalized folks, and I think that I mean, I don't fully know all of the boxes that you personally check, but as a woman alone, you're dealing with a lot of uncertainty in the agency of your own skin and body, of course. Um, that's just sort of again being thrust upon us when we thought, oh, we can work on different issues.
Right.
Now we're going back to the older issues.
Yep.
So those newer issues aren't even reality right now. It's fucked. It's so disheartening.
I
But to be
agree.
entertainers and to come together and to be share backstages and things like that, that's hopefully our own relief. If we don't necessarily that's our own capability.
Yes,
Mm,
I agree. And to keep performing and to
yeah.
keep doing burlesque.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I get it if you can't. I get it if the bandwidth is so nil or if the priorities change because some folks have to.
Sure.
I know that a bunch of people have quit because they don't feel comfortable traveling. Not the least of which is our airline storyline right now. I'm on 6 different planes in April. That's just how it is. But with that going on, in addition to the policies that are being put forth in uncertain terms, obviously it depends county to county, city to city, state to state, day to day in some variances. Um, who it depends on how vitrolic the local police force is sometimes, how much they want to enforce even. And I was told I never necessarily subscribed to it because I guess I'm a little bit more cynical. But I was told as a Southern California, I had less to worry about. But our governor has sold the fuck out yet again. So it's scary. But
It is.
um, I do understand if folks have to quit or have to hold or pause or because they have other stuff to worry about, including their own families or their own, stuff. But if we can put on, I think it's our duties if we have that privilege, if we have that ability for us to do it to the nth degree and not and treat it more like a cabaret rather than the Hunger Games. Frankly, let's have some grace for each other, but also let's have some perspective as well.
Yes.
That's just my thought
I
on the subject.
I think what you're saying is very much true.
Yeah. And I understand if people don't necessarily agree too, because for some people, the Hunger Games is escapism as well. I mean, not literally the games, but like the capitalistic side of it and the excess and the fun. We were all living like Gatsby for what that minute right there. But people also forget like Gatsby takes place during the Depression. Like
Right.
it's a massive it's I mean it's an allegory for how stupid rich people can be. Yeah. Yeah. Again, that nuance. Let me just pick apart and just find that. So in addition to dance and performance and being this outward uh figure on stage for however many minutes, what else do you vibe with? What else do you find interesting? What else do you enjoy?
You mean just like in normal
And in life,
everyday life? Okay.
what excites you? What turns you on? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I actually I love gardening, and
Okay.
I ventured into canning, um, like the old school way, water bath canner, and learning to preserve
Walk me through that. A bath canner?
water bath. So
Water bath.
not so now there's pressure cookers and things where you can
Hmm.
do canning now, but I wanted to learn the like what my great grandma would have done
Okay.
style. Yeah, so you basically just have a large um
Basin?
it's like a pot, but it's different, and it has but you submerge once you've
Okay.
canned your product, whether it's jellies or jams or salsas or pickles. Pickles are really good. I love pickles.
And you
Then
can pickle lots of things. That's always the fun
yes,
part
you
too.
can. And so then you submerge it in a water bath. And and it's a boiling water bath. Once it comes back to a boil, then that's when you time it, and that's what pressurizes and cans the goods into the jar.
Yes, yes, it's all visually I'm getting a picture of it. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All
So
right.
yeah, I like to say that skill would make me valuable in a zombie apocalypse, because I know how to do it, because I know how to garden and I know how
It's
to
always
can.
good to have marketable skills in a
Right.
zombie
I'm like, so
apocalypse.
you want me
Yeah.
on your team in the zombie
Okay.
apocalypse because I can preserve
'Cause you can
food.
can. All right, this is valid. Now, I personally don't plan on surviving a zombie apocalypse, but I understand. I understand. I just don't have that killer instinct. But you do it. You do. So, folks at home, you remember that.
I know.
And
No,
when you see Ivy, you go and you get your cans.
you can get your cans. Yes, I know. I was like, I'm with you. I don't have the killer instinct, but I have a survival instinct.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if I have that personally, and I hope that doesn't say too terribly much about me. But like at that point, I'm like, what am I surviving for? Like,
Well,
like,
there is validity to that. I
but
know.
people, it's important to have hope. I'm not judging you if you have hope. Please, somebody has to.
Yes.
Um, awesome. Well, that's a new one. I don't think anyone's ever when I've asked what other I never like the word hobbies, but what other interests one
Interested.
might
Yeah.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because my family says, like, where did that come from? Like,
Where
again,
did that
why,
come from?
why? And I was like, well, because I had excess produce one year in the garden, and I thought I've got to do something with this. I don't like to let
That's all
things
gonna
go
spoil.
to waste. That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. And so, but once I started it, I realized that there is a through line because there's creativity in it.
Mm.
And like if you're making something, say a salsa, it never turns out the same the next year because different produce reacts differently. And so and just combining, finding things that you like flavors of and combining them. Like I made a blueberry lavender jam one time, and that was really fun because the colors and the flavors like really mixed well together. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that it still allows creativity, but it's a little bit more of a sedentary creativity than dancing is.
You've got all that covered. So yes, give yourself the chance to do it in a stationary position, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Sort of even, because even then it sounds like a very active, potentially exhausting activity.
It can be.
So yeah. I imagine like these folks, like these scullery folks, just like in just jamming down the can tops and turning and making sure everything's all together. I mean, yeah, dexterity
Yeah.
required. Yeah. What do you grow as a gardener?
So mostly, I mean, obviously vegetables. And so
Sure, but
uh,
what do you enjoy? What thrives in your garden?
tomatoes, cucumbers, squash. There was one year I had so much butternut squash, I didn't know what to do with it, but I learned how to pickle butternut squash. Uh, Spaghetti squash and
Yeah.
herbs grow really well here. Basil, making basil vinegar is pretty fun. Rosemary, all sorts of strawberries grow really well. I have a peach tree and a plum tree, but they're inconsistent as far as when
Mm.
they um, give me any produce.
I would think Denver would be in the winter months would be particularly difficult. Do you like cover them? Do you
No,
cover the
just the garden goes
dormant?
dormant, and I replant. So I don't really have much that comes back. I
Mm.
have a few flowers that come back, and oregano is really hardy. It kind of comes back like a weed here, anyways.
Okay.
So yeah, most things it's a replant each year.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So, folks, if your garden is not working, try oregano. It seems to be strong-willed.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate getting to know you. I know we've just barely scratched the surface, but I find you to be incredibly charming, and I'm so glad that we had this time together. And I hope that we get to share a stage or some space sometime soon. Do you believe that you'll make your way to the Burlesque Hall of Fame weekender this year?
I have every intention of being there.
That's a
Yes.
great answer for everything in life right now.
Yes. I have every intention of being there, and yeah, I assume you will be there as well.
I will be. I'll be
Okay.
working merch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then
Yeah.
I'll definitely connect with you there. But yes, I too
Yeah.
would adore getting to know you better, and if we get the opportunity to share a stage together, that would be magical.
Fantastic. Well, I do this side series called The Music That Made We, which I mentioned earlier that Rex did with the Irish history. But traditionally, Music That Made We is when I talk to a person and they tell me 10 songs that sort of make up a lot of the fabric of their lives, the soundtrack of their memoir, as it were, like pieces of time. I would love if you would ever like to participate in that. I find it to be also another deep dive into the life and times of entertainers, and
Okay.
I'm always fascinated where people come from with that
Yeah.
assignment. So think on that if
Okay.
you'd like.
I will. That would be fun.
Awesome. Well, however, thriving manifests, I hope it's good to you. I hope you keep coming back like that oregano weed. And you give those puppies appropriate scritches
I
now
do.
that I'm letting you go and they can actually have your full attention.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been a
My absolute
pleasure.
pleasure. Oh, before we say goodbye, can you tell the folks at home the way that they can keep in touch with all your goings on?
Yes, I am on Instagram at Ivy Faerie, and I am on Facebook as Ivy F. Airy because Facebook does not believe Faerie is a real last name. I don't understand.
Unbelievable. They're doomed. They're just doomed.
Unbelievable. Or they can certainly reach out to me via email, ivfaerie1@gmail. So Faerie is the old spelling way,
The proper
F-A-E.
spelling.
Yes.
Yes.
F-A-E-R-I-E.
Yes. Yes. I am a fairy. You are a fairy.
Yes, you understand. You understand. Yeah.
But I'm more of the IRY type myself. So, but I understand. Well, thank you so much. I will include those ways to keep in touch in the footnotes, and I will tag you on all the things when this goes live. But have a wonderful rest of your day, your weekend,
Thank you.
and
You
be
as
well.
well. Okay. Wish you
Thank you so
well.
much, Ivy.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening, everybody. We Burlesque the Podcast, created, developed, and edited by Viktor Devonne. Podcast artwork by Logan Laveau. We Burlesque the Podcast cover art photography by Atticus Stevenson. Theme song, Anna 45 by This Way to the Egress, used with permission. All incidental music via Pixabay under the expectation of fair use. Please visit WeBurlesquePodcast.com for notes on this and every other episode. Follow We Burlesque and Viktor Devonne on just about every platform, and support the podcast via patreon.com/We Burlesque. Don't got the cash? Please follow, subscribe, and give 5 stars on every platform you can get your hands on. It really does help. All original material is owned by Viktor Devonne and White Elephant Burlesque Corporation. All other material is property of their respective copyright. No infringement, while likely, is intended. This episode, and all episodes thereafter, are in memory of Lucky Charming. Miss you, friend. And that's it.
Woohoo!